Hello, we're about ready to start. We're going to get our speakers up here, but until we do, got a little bit of housekeeping to take care of again, as I usually do. I'm Dan Hervey. I'm the current commander here, and I thank all of you for coming. We're going to have a good program, I'm sure, but on your tables, let's just start with the other way. We had a really, really good meal, and that was prepared by Teresa Rao, Judy Friesen, and Ann Clark. And we do appreciate it. It was excellent. And all the desserts, once again, Helen Nichols. So give Helen a big hand. And somebody had to pay for that. And on your sheets there, it tells you who the sponsors are. Tonight it was Al Engel, Hastings LLC, Mr. Roy Wash, Horizon Real Estate, and Mr. Joe Holtz back there from Lindsborg. Thank you, each one of you. We had our post meeting last night. I'm going to give you a couple of highlights of things that we talked about because it's going to have an effect on all of you sooner or later for most of it. Most of you know that I am in charge of the honor guard here at the post, and I've got about 9 people volunteering to help. And when we do a funeral, there's always myself, and I need 4 other people, and sometimes we can't get 4 out of 8 or 9 because of doctor's appointments and whatever. So Mike McVicker said he'll be joining our team in June. But go ahead, give me a big hand. We can always use some other people. And I know one of our guys is working on his neighbor trying to twist an arm, and I'm going to work on him too. And that's my reminder to tell you it's a good time to put your cell phone on vibrate. I thought I had it off. It is. Okay. So, if you want to volunteer for that, get in touch with me. We got All Schools Day. That's yours. I thought it was my phone. It's yours, Ken. Okay. Everybody in McPherson knows, and maybe the guys in Lindsborg and Hutch that are here, and Newton, and we have what we call All Schools Day here on the second Friday of the month, 12th this year. And the honor guard, of course, will be leading in the parade with the colors, but the Legion Riders here at Post 24 will do dinner on the patio or on the parking lot out here. So plan on eating with our riders. It's prepared meals, either hamburger meal or a hot dog meal for $7. And we have it all packaged up so the line's going to move a lot faster than previous years. So come do the Booger Burn with our riders. Memorial Weekend is coming up at the end of May, and we're always involved in 3-4 different services. And our keynote speaker this year is from our post, Joe Zenacek. So you want to make sure you come out and do that. And if you want to help Memorial Weekend, we always put out about 1,500 crosses on Veteran Cemetery on the graves. And we do that on Saturday morning at 8 o'clock. We meet here at the Legion and we go on out. And then on Memorial Day afterwards at 2 in the afternoon, we pick up 1,500 crosses and haul them back and put them in the basement. So we can always use help for that. So that's about all I've got to ramble on about tonight. But we do have 2 speakers, and we're going to do them one at a time. Mr. Ray Willems up there sitting with Dennis Friesen, and I have to thank Dennis. I had 2 other speakers lined up for tonight, and both of them had medical issues, and I don't know when we're going to get them back. And so old Dennis, he jumped in like he did many times before, and he says, let me see who I can get. And so he went out, twisted Ray's arm till he about broke it, I guess. And so he's going to do kind of like he did last time when we had Lauren Phillips up here. He's going to ask Ray some questions, and when he's through, we're going to let him get down, and we're going to bring up Joe Unruh. And both of these guys served in the U.S. Navy during Korea. But Ray, I've always told him this, you were a slow learner because you went in the Army after you went in the Navy, right? Yeah. How many would do that, huh? No. Okay. But Ray and I have known each other for a long time, and he knows I like to kid him.
4 years Navy, 3 years Army.
Oh, you're going to tell about that. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Dennis, and I'm going to give Dennis my microphone. Now you're going to have to use this microphone and hold it like an ice cream cone. Don't lick it, because Joe's got to use it afterwards, okay? But it's only one directional. If you don't hold it in front of you, we can't hear what you're saying, okay? Hold it right in front of you. Got it. All right, you got that. Okay.
Okay, can everybody hear me? Yeah, I was afraid of that. Okay. All right, this is Ray Willems, by the way. He's been here once before, but he didn't have the questions that I got, so we're going to try we're going to give him a second dose of this. So we were talking at Wendy's the other day, and I said, you know, when we get up here and talk, what are you going to do? And the first thing out of his mouth was, I'm going to lie. Remember that?
I remember.
Those are the little things he can still remember. So anyhow, we're going to get started. I got a bunch of questions and stuff that I put together, and I kind of redid some of it this afternoon. So first of all, Ray, where did you grow up?
Hillsboro.
Why?
That's where the folks raised me, I guess. Canada is where I went to grade school, Kansas.
Oh, that little place over there?
Yeah, I did.
How big was the school?
Well, all 8 grades were in one room.
That's been a while back, huh?
Yeah, that.
Did you have running water?
Only if we was carrying the bucket.
Okay. Anyhow, where do you live now?
Over here in McPherson.
Okay. You like it there?
Yeah, okay. I've been here 26 years where I'm at.
Okay, that's good. Where all did you work before you retired? This could take a while, huh?
Farmland Industries. I worked there for, I don't know. Worked there a long time.
Okay. Did you have fun doing that?
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever get a ticket?
No, sir.
You sure about that?
Yep.
Positive, huh?
Yep.
Okay, well, we'll let that one go then. So, you know, some things, you know, he's starting to lie already. I can tell that. So,
500,000 miles with farmland.
that's good. Would you haul fuel?
Some, mostly freight.
Okay. Now, I got a question. Since you were in the Navy, since you were in the Navy, what's the difference between a ship and a boat?
Well, a boat's got oars.
Yeah, but you had more guys on the ship. It could row faster if you had that thing. Yeah, I think, where's Al? He's not here tonight, but we're always talking about a ship and a boat with him. So, yeah, I never have quite figured that out. So, yeah. You know, when did you join the military?
Oh,
Just make a guess. We'll never know the difference.
51, I think. May 2nd, 51.
That's close enough. I don't remember that.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. How old were you when you joined?
19.
How long were you in?
Well, 5 years.
5?
Well, 4 years active service and 3 years reserves, active reserves. I joined the Army Reserves after I got out of the Navy.
Now, did you have a dry place to sleep in the Navy?
Oh, yeah.
Why did you join the Army?
Why?
Yeah.
Well, me and my buddy joined the Navy, and he got a medical discharge. And when I got out, he was in the Army Active Reserves and talked me into joining that Wichita unit.
So was that a good decision or not?
I guess.
Didn't get shot at, did you?
No, I
Then it was
did.
a good decision.
I didn't went to monthly meetings and all.
Okay, I gotta see what it is. How old were you when you joined?
19.
19. Why did you join?
Well, I just thought it was a good idea.
Who told you that?
I don't know. Me and my buddy took
Were you
off.
drinking at the time or what?
No, but me and my buddy was headed for Texas, going to get us a job down there, and we run out of money. And coming back, we stopped at Wichita and talked to Navy recruiter. And next thing I knew, I was in San Diego.
In the blink of an eye, right?
Yeah.
That quick it happened. Now we're going to talk about something that everybody's been through. It's been the military. It's the basic training. Everybody loved the basic training. Where was your basic training and how long did it last?
Well, San Diego, and I don't recall how long. 12 weeks, and then I went to.
You were 12 weeks. The Air Force is only 6.
Huh? And then I went to Great Lakes to machinist mate school, and then went aboard the USS Lofberg.
Do you remember your drill instructor?
Nope,
You must have been a good boy.
I was raised good.
You're a liar. Okay. What were some things you remember about basic training? Everybody remembers something.
Well, that old grinder was what it was. You marched on that, and
What was one thing I remember in basic training was my very first night in basic training. That was one time I wish I'd have died. You remember that first night in basic training?
not really.
Man, he's been a good boy. Do you remember your drill instructor? You remember his name?
Nope.
Man, you were sharp. Mine was told a couple of times what his name was, right to my face. So I guess that,
Well, I knew at the time.
that's how much you care now, right?
Yeah.
All right. Did you like marching?
Well, I was probably pretty good at it. They had me up front. Every drill inspector always told them to keep in step with me. So
You must have
I
been the
see.
one doing it wrong, so this all went wrong.
I set the cadence, and
You remember some of those cadence calls? Oh, we better not get into that or not.
well,
Probably may not be a good thing.
this I may.
We'll talk about it later. How's that sound, okay? Did you ever pull KP?
No. Well, yeah, I did. When we had on the destroyer, certain people out of each division had to serve the mess line, and I think I drew it once or twice.
So what were your duties when you did KP?
Well, one time I had to run the potato skinning machine.
Did you do a good job of that?
Well, you just took a bucket and dumped them in the tub, and
Till they
Turn
came
the
out like
switch.
golf balls and then they were good.
depending on when you shut the machine off,
Yeah.
they
So-
were pretty small.
But they were peeled, right?
Oh,
That's
you
the main
betcha.
thing.
We let it go till the eyes were all gone.
Yeah, I got to peel the eyes out of them, that's for
Yeah.
sure. Did you ever fail an inspection?
No,
Now, Raymond, I should have talked to you earlier. That's what we should have
Nope, I
done.
never failed an inspection.
You're a good boy.
Uh,
You know, I'm still going back to what you told me at Wendy's. You're
What'd
gonna
I say?
lie. You're gonna lie.
well, I was probably pulling your leg. 'Cause
Okay. Did you ever get in trouble? Now be honest.
nope.
I don't buy that one at all. Everybody did at one time or another got in trouble. I speak from experience.
Well, I was raised proper.
You're a liar. Hey, one thing I remember when I was in is remember getting the mail. Remember when you'd have mail call?
Yeah,
Did you get a lot of mail?
just from Mom.
And what did she tell you?
I know just what was happening back home.
What did you tell her?
Very little.
Nothing she'd understand, right? Is that right? Did you have strange people in your unit? Did you have some strange people in your unit? You know, that kind of played to a different fiddle?
No, we had a pretty good bunch of guys in.
They must all been Kansas boys, huh?
Well, you know, they said the drill instructor said he rather have people from the central U.S. than on either coast.
That's some good words, Sterling. That I believe. I believe that, yeah. Okay. We're on board there. Are there things that we probably shouldn't talk about?
Yeah, I got a clean record.
What's your definition of a clean record? Yeah, I don't know about that one. Where were some of your duty locations? Where'd you go?
Well, I went from boot camp to Great Lakes to Machinist Base School to the USS Lofberg and stayed on there 3 years. Went back to Great Lakes for short time or short duty and got discharged.
Did you travel quite a bit on that ship?
Oh, we went overseas.
You
We
remember
was
where you
in-
went?
In Korea, once on harbor. We was in there 5 different times.
5 times.
Yeah, that's around on the north side, right up on the Chinese border. We'd go in there, stay in there for 3-4 weeks, and
What
it's
did
a
you do?
big inland sea.
What did you do while you were out there?
I was in the engine room. I was
Were you a mechanic?
machinist mate. Actually, I was petty officer 3rd class, and I was in charge of the engine room, designating who cleaned what, whose position, or who stood which watch. And
I remember when you were talked the last time that you did something to that engine to make it run faster. Remember that?
well, no, I don't really recall that anymore.
You said they couldn't get it going fast, and so you went down there, and I don't know if you beat
Oh,
on
that was on one of the Liberty boats. All 4 of them. We was, the tide was changing, and there's 4 ships tied up to a buoy, and our division just kind of scooted forward, straddled the buoy, and we had to come down, and they had the 4 Liberty boats trying to push to make the back end swing, and they didn't do it, and I seemed to know how to bypass the governor. And
farm kid.
I jumped from all 4 of them. I was down my bunk, and guy down there come and said, the skipper said he wants to see you, and I thought I'd screwed up somewhere, but got up there, he asked me if I knew how to make them Liberty boats run faster, and I said, well, it's kind of illegal, I ain't supposed to. He says, I'm not going to watch, but I want to see these ships start moving. So I bypassed the governor on one, jumped over the next one, next one, next one. Got him moving, and he said, okay, shut him back down. And he didn't even thank me.
Well, he couldn't because he wasn't going to tell anybody either, right? What were some of the fun times you had while you were in the Navy?
Yeah, well, mixed company or what?
Yeah, I can't go that far. Now remember,
Well,
we weren't going to talk about that stuff. Remember?
We did have a favorite bar in Yokohama that we liked to go to that is upstairs in Sakura Beer Hall.
So what kind of liquor did you drink? You didn't drink liquor, did you?
Just beer. Sake.
Sake, was it good?
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Pretty strong?
It was either that or Schlitz. That's all I had.
Schlitz wasn't the best, huh? Yeah, I could see that. Yep. So do you make a lot of good friends?
Oh, yeah.
Do you still stay in contact, or you probably don't have any more?
I
do you?
have not.
Yeah.
I tried to find a couple, three of them when I got in their area, but everybody had moved on. Nobody was where they used to be.
Yep. You know, when you're in the military, you make friends with a lot of people. You swear, swear up and down you're going to stay in contact for the rest of your life. That don't happen. You know, the world's
Nope.
too big. It's too
That's
big.
a fact. That is a fact. You come back home and you meet your old friends and make new ones. And
So, are you glad you joined the military?
oh yeah, I'd do it again.
Good. What would you tell someone that is thinking of joining the military? How would you feed him a good line?
I don't know. Go for it.
You know, they got a lot of questions, and
I
nowadays it's-
don't know how the new military
Yeah.
is, but when I was in, I'd do it again.
That's good. So, any questions anybody got for this gentleman?
Ray, didn't you tell a story about the bakery and the bread last time?
About what?
Bakery and the bread?
Bakery and the bread.
Oh, yeah, we had control of the electric switchboard, and on the midnight shift, they was baking bread, and we'd flip the oven, turn the ovens off, and pretty soon somebody'd holler down the hatch, "Here come a loaf of bread," and we'd go turn it back on. Then the skipper or the chief engineer and the skipper come down. They found out we was doing that, and we also had our messenger went to the storage unit, and we'd get a pound of butter and keep it up in the cold blowers, keep them from melting down the engine room. And here they come down there, and they said, "We understand you have good coffee down here." And so we had to get them a slice of fresh baked bread and the butter and a cup of coffee, and
Everybody was happy.
everybody's happy.
That's cool. Well, thank you, Raymond. Appreciate it. Anybody got any questions for this guy? I don't know if they're going to be true when he answers or not, but it's up.
What kind of ship was he on?
A boat.
A boat has oars. I was on a destroyer, USS Lofberg. It was a good ship.
Tin can, right?
Tin can, yeah.
Did it have oars?
Hmm?
Did you have oars in case the engine quit?
No, but we had lifeboat with oars.
Did you practice that? That's a good question. Did you practice any type of stuff like that?
I was generally always the engineer on the Liberty Launch, and especially on the captain's gig. they always requested me to be the engineer, because when the waves are always, and the Liberty Lawn's going back
Yeah.
and forth, and you'd sit there and run the throttle and the forward and aft lever and keep it steady at the gangway, and the big shots seemed to like that.
So if you did that job, were you the last one off the boat in case it sunk?
Well, it never happened.
So he didn't go. You didn't rehearse that part of it.
No.
Okay. All right.
Hmm?
How big the engines were down there? How many? How many engines did you have?
Oh, we had 2 engine rooms, 2 fire rooms. Had one big steam turbine and one high-speed turbine run the same shaft in each engine room, and the boiler rooms each had 2 boilers. So, and our top speed was, I think, 46 miles an hour. It goes pretty fast.
That's faster than you think.
They'd leave a pretty good wake when
I'm gonna
they'd
say.
give us flank speed ahead.
How often did you refuel that thing?
Oh, I don't know. We held quite a bit of fuel. We couldn't make it from San Diego to Japan. We always had to run alongside either a tanker or a aircraft carrier to take on fuel to make it across. Either that or stop at Pearl Harbor and Guam and fuel if we was going by without another ship.
Did you ever get seasick?
The first time I got on, the first 3 days out, and after that it never bothered me.
You drank too much the night before, right?
Well, no, but when you're trying to walk down the passageway and the walls are hitting you on both shoulders, it's pretty rough.
You got sea legs in, right?
You gain them
Yep.
in a hurry.
Did you go through any storms while you were at sea?
Oh yeah, we run into some pretty heavy weather. Oh yeah, it would go nearly sideways
Wow.
a couple times.
Did you learn to swim?
I could before I got there. I was a swimmer before I went and joined.
Did you remember, did you have to go through any swim training while you're in the Navy? Tread
No.
water, anything like that?
No,
Just had a life jacket, huh?
they issued them if you needed them.
I'd probably wear mine all the time.
we never carried a life jacket with us.
Wow. Any more questions? Thank you, Ray.
You bet.
The next one is Joe Unruh. I'm going to help Ray down the steps. We'll get some help here. Okay. This guy coming up next is related to me. His wife and I are first cousins, so I've known Joe for a long time. He's another Navy man. You know, I haven't quite figured out why somebody in Kansas would join the Navy. I mean, it's a long way to either shoreline. Oh, no, we'll have fun. I'll just ask you questions, Joe. Everybody familiar with Joe? He lives here in town. Francis is his wife back there. Fran. Okay, we'll get started with this one. Where'd you grow up at?
The big metropolis of Lehigh.
Lehigh. Is it still there?
Far as I know.
You haven't been back, huh?
No, been quite a while.
Where do you live now?
On North High Drive here in McPherson,
How long you live there?
54 years. Well, when we moved to North High, we
Yeah.
lived.
Joe and I
first got-
happened to work together at the refinery. He was in the alky unit and I was in the feed unit. Then he retired and then I retired and now we're here. So anyhow, where else did you work besides the refinery?
I worked at the, I worked a couple summers when I was senior and then a year later on the railroad. And that was back in the 40s and made $1.53 an hour, and that was pretty good wages back then.
That's
And
not
then
bad.
I worked, after I graduated, then I went and college for a semester at.
Where'd you go to college at?
Well, the first was McPherson in '52 when they had that big snowstorm.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, right about Thanksgiving time. And then my dad was sick, so I had to quit. And then after we lived on the farm, and then I spent the next semester. I went to Tabor College, and then after that, I joined the U.S. Navy.
I was talking a little earlier with France and Joe, and we got to talking about his birth certificate. You remember that?
Yeah, I was born midwife in Hillsboro then, and then I joined the Navy. They had trouble with my birth certificate to get a.
Tell him
The
what it had
clearance.
on it.
It
What,
just said baby boy.
he was a baby boy, nothing else.
Yeah. they
Actually, it
did.
was a midwife was the delivery. It
Yeah.
wasn't
No,
wasn't
it
in the
wasn't at a
hospital at all.
hospital.
So
No.
wasn't in a hospital. So
No.
it's kind of interesting, way back then how they did things, and of course, identification wasn't near as important then as it is now. So those are things that you kind of take for granted. Because I know a friend of mine, his last name wasn't spelled right on his birth certificate, so he had to go through all kinds of problems to get it straightened out. Finally, when he got done, he had to add an E to the end of it to make it so they'd buy it. So they said it would work. So it was interesting. Why'd you join the military?
Well,
Be honest.
I had an option to get drafted. Of course, the drafts are still then.
I was waiting
But
for
I
that
had,
one.
main reason, I had 3 brothers in World War II.
Can you
so-
share a little bit about them? Tell us about them.
One was in the Battle of the Bulge. He is buried in Orange County in California. He survived for that, except for he had feet frozen, and that was about all. But he said when they stayed in a foxhole and nobody got excited and jumped out or something, then they got sniped or something hit,
Yeah.
as long as they stayed in a foxhole. And the other one was CB, and he drove a Caterpillar, and they made the runways in the South Pacific in the islands. So, and then my other brother, he was drafted late, but the war was about over. He never had to leave overseas. So
So what did you do in the Navy?
I was a yeoman. I was, and I went to San Diego for my
Training.
training, and then later on went to Bremerton. They redone the USS Lexington, and then I was on the Lexington we went to Korea after that.
How old were you when you joined the Navy?
I was almost 20.
Where was your basic training in? What did you
San
do?
Diego.
Did you like it?
Yes, we went there right after
You
the weather
basic-
was beautiful. Yes, I liked it there.
Do you remember your drill sergeant, instructor, DI?
I know that both of them, we were the first company they started, and that was all Kansas.
And Kansas from the Navy.
Yeah.
Wow.
And because most of the recruits came from Kansas or from the central,
Part
like
of the
he
United
said.
States.
Yeah, and both are, lead one was a first class petty officer, and the other one he was our leader, and they were both, one was from El Dorado and one was from Ellsworth.
Wow.
And,
That's unusual.
And I had a good friend his name was Fridley, and he was from close to Manhattan. But we had a lot from Wichita. It was all
Wow.
all
That's
Kansas.
unusual for the Navy especially. So what you remember some of the things in basic training that will stick in your mind forever?
Well, he mentioned a grinder, and I mentioned how we played basketball, and it got forced. Of course, you had them old big old leggings and those old high top shoes, so it wasn't the most fun. And sometimes it got a little bit out of hand, but otherwise it was.
Those were some good times, though, weren't they? At that time, they were good times.
And I was so fortunate because I had relatives. Two brothers that lived in San Bernardino, so
They
every
come to
time
visit
I
you.
back then you could do that pretty easy and
Hitchhike.
go to San Bernardino or.
What was it like the first night you did basic training? The
Well,
first
we
night
flew
you laid
in
down.
as a group, and I don't know, I was probably older than Lot. We had to meet in Topeka, and then we went to Kansas City as a group, and we stayed at, I think the hotel that, I can't think of the name now, that.
That's the last time you stayed in a hotel, though, for a while, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then at Fairfax they flew us out to San Diego the next morning.
Did they greet you with a smile on their face when you got off the bus and all that stuff?
Yeah,
Everybody remember that? That don't go away right away, does it? Yeah. They were smiling, you were scared to death, so. Did you do a lot of marching in the Navy? Air Force, we
did
marched
quite
everywhere.
a bit. Yeah, and I was one of the leaders. I was squad leader at the
Yep.
time. So
That
I
worked.
didn't mind marching. I was pretty athletic at the time.
Marching was kind of fun in a way. If you got everybody we had a guy that when I was in basic training, the poor guy had 2 left feet, could not march, could not do anything. Of course, he landed up being called Barney. He was Barney Fife. That was all there was to it. Poor guy. We made him a road guard because he could stand out there. If a car hit him, the car hit him. So that's just the way it was. So,
The only thing I remember was bad that I called that Springfield rifle that we used, them old Springfield rifles. I called it a gun, and you wouldn't call a rifle a gun in the Navy. And I slept with that for a couple nights.
did you bear hug
So I
it?
knew that rifle.
Yep. Do you remember going to the rifle range and doing shooting?
Yes, I seen a lot of white flags. We had to go to Camp Pendleton, and all I just heard is, and be careful of all them rattlers around there.
Be careful.
So I got a lot of Maggie drawers. I wasn't too good.
Did you remember firing the rifle? Did you do good? Did you qualify?
I don't know if I qualified, but that's the last I seen of the M1. So
After you slept with it for
Yeah.
a while.
one other time I had to do, and I had a Barney 45 with 2 clips in my belt, and that was it. It wasn't even loaded. So I didn't do much of that like Army would.
Did you ever have to do KP?
No, never done that.
What'd you do right? Everybody's pulled KP at one time or another. You ever fail an inspection? Be honest on this one.
No, but I just couldn't get used to. We had to wash all of our clothes in basic, and why you had to hang them on the line with little old rope. But that's what we had to do in boot camp.
How often did they do an inspection?
Well, they didn't awful say. Most of them were
Unannounced.
unannounced.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the way they did it. Do you ever get in trouble while you're in the Navy?
No.
What's your definition of trouble, though?
Well,
That has a lot to do with the answer.
I don't know. I don't know what to say. All I know is I got a good conduct medal, and the officer told me that was three years of undetected crime. so I didn't quite.
I like what he said, undetected crime. He didn't say no crime, undetected crime. That makes more sense. You ever remember getting the mail?
Yes.
That's pretty good, wasn't it?
And that was always welcome mail, yes.
I don't know, did you get from Mom, or did Francis send you mail?
Did I, pardon?
Did Francis send you mail?
I didn't know Frances then
Oh.
yet. She was,
It was the other gal.
I remember getting a Dear John.
No, Dear John. You know, that seemed to be the trend in the military, is the Dear John letters.
You know,
What are some things I can't say this. There's probably things we shouldn't talk about, right?
oh, I can't think of anything. What do you got
These
in
guys.
mind?
You talked to Raymond before we started?
No.
Okay. Where were your duty locations at? Where'd y'all go?
Well, after basic training, I went to Bremerton, and I really had a tough day. And I had to, as we were waiting, the ship was being put. It was World War II, Lexington, and they were putting this angle deck and steam catapults. And I was, well, terrible duty. I had to go play softball for about
How
2
did you-
months while they were till we had that, and we ended up winning the Lexington bunch won the Bremerton area softball championship. So that was a tough duty I had.
That must have been tough. How did you explain that to the rest of the people?
Well, it was kind of rough. We had to clean the
Did
EM
you
club.
lie?
We had to clean up the EM club once a week.
That didn't-
Sometimes that was pretty messy.
That's interesting. How do you ever land up becoming a baseball player in the Navy?
We didn't have football in Lehigh, so we had softball in spring and then
I
baseball.
don't think
in-
Lehigh still has football, do they?
Yeah.
What were some of the fun times you had? Surely you got fun times.
Well, on just being able to go, like we got to see, was going to go to the Olympics in '56, and then I had through special services tickets to go to the Olympics in Melbourne, and then Hungary or Poland or somebody had trouble, so Eisenhower said no, we had to stay with the 7th Fleet.
That's interesting.
And then I got to see, of course, our basic overseas training on Lexington was at Pearl Harbor. So we got to see that in Hong Kong. And
You like Hong Kong?
it was different, yeah. It was very different.
Did you make some good friends while you were in the military?
Yeah, a lot of good friends. I had two of them I worked with. One was from
Were they on the
Manhattan.
baseball team?
No, those
Yeah, they
were.
weren't on the baseball team, all right. Are you glad you joined the military?
Yes, I really seen a lot of country that I never got to do as a kid. We didn't travel or never got out of Kansas hardly when I was a kid. So
You know, when in the middle of Kansas and you're on a ship, or a boat, whatever, boat. You know, if you're on that, that's from Kansas looking, if you get on a ship and you look out, can't see land, that means you're far from Kansas. It's Kansas is flat, but that's still you're far off, so.
and we were a flagship with the 7th Fleet, and I worked in air operations, so they would send down the flight scheduled sorties for the pilots, and then I had an office job, and I would type them up and take them down to the ready room to the pilots and stuff, and they were an interesting group,
I bet they were.
So,
So, last question. What would you tell someone that is thinking of joining the military? What would you tell them?
well, I thought I made a good choice, and I think it'll do whatever they want to make of it, and I was glad I joined.
You know,
I'll
right
do
now
it again in a minute.
the numbers are down,
Yeah.
clear across the nation, all 4 services, the numbers are down, which is sad. That's not good. So anyhow, thank you, Joe. Appreciate it very much.
He didn't open it up for questions. Joe, I had a question. So, you said that the Lexington was the flagship. Do you remember who the admiral was?
I couldn't name his. Our captain was Haywood. I can remember him. And all I know was that he was about 6'7".
Wow.
He was a guy, but we were Concord Div 1, but I can't. I've got a book at home that I know, but because I have a big book of the whole trip we made.
Okay. All right, you mentioned in boot camp you had to tie your clothes on the clothesline with a piece of, well, it was a cord, and you remember it went this way, and the other side went this way, and then you tied it with a square knot with no longer than. You remember what they called it? It was called a clothes stop. I don't know why, but that's what they called that string. Yeah. So that's what we didn't have washers and dryers, Dennis. Navy people knew how to do hand laundry.
Yeah.
Hung them out on the boat. Okay. Anybody else have a question?
It depends what the situation is.
I didn't hear him.
Yes, if I claim you or you claim me,
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Are any other questions? We're going to get out a little bit early tonight. Remember, we need people. We'd like to line up for the rest of the year if we could. We think we've got next week or next month covered, and I think maybe our state Legion commander back there is maybe talk the next month. We'll get that scheduled in the next month or two. But if you want to talk or you know somebody, call me or call Dennis. Dennis has been doing a great job helping me out to get there. And I don't know how I got caught into lining up all these people, but thank Dennis again. Give Dennis a hand for getting these speakers. That brings it to a close. Stay around and visit if you want to. Thank you all for coming, and good night.